Lawton injured, camp waived. We detail the latest from Leafs land ahead of the final weekend of training camp. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today's Futures Day on FanDuel. So if you're still listening to this and it's Friday, you can go and place a couple wagers. There's some goodies on your NHL futures. A little later on in the show, I've got 5 Maple Leafs futures that I like that I will be placing a wager on in FanDuel. So we'll do that as our Friday 5-pack to end the show. But first order of business, and I know it's a bit of a later one. Typically, Dave, we try to get these podcasts out. We do it kind of the night before, around midnight, so that people who wake up in the morning have something to listen to. We were unable to. I was doing the morning show, so I had to go to bed nice and early, wake up, and then our days got away from us. But I'm glad that we waited, actually, and ended up doing a bit more of an evening show here because, well, we got a lot of news over the course of Friday. You know, we expected to come on and just talk about the Leafs. They lost to Detroit in a preseason game. Does it mean a whole lot? Not really. Any takeaways? But now it seems like the conversation has shifted more towards what the hell happened to Scott Laughton and why is he now week to week with the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, who knew what could have happened? It's not like you just want to make sure that everyone got through camp healthy, right, Mike?
Are you blaming me, Dave? Are you saying it's all my fault that
I
Scott
mean,
Laughton
I'm not, especially, I kind of put out a bit of a warning. I think we should let the tape say it for itself.
No one thing too that I think we should knock on all the possible wood that we can find here. The Maple Leafs have been relatively healthy through camp. Outside of the tweak that Domi had right before, I know. Did I jinx it?
What are you doing?
I didn't jinx it. Do you think I jinxed it?
Man,
no.
Where's the olive oil? We need the Molokio right now to get rid of that.
Oh, you're right, man.
I swear, if there's an injury at the game tonight, that's the first person I'm texting is you.
Oh, God.
Worst part, man. I didn't even get to text you.
Oh, man, that's so bad. That's so bad. Why did I have to say that yesterday? Like, why did I even have to put that into the universe? What the hell is wrong with me? Oh, dude, trust me, man. When I saw the news that popped across my screen, all the tweets started to come out out of nowhere, too. Scott Laughton going to be week to week with a lower body injury. I'm like, what? What happened? Like, you were at the game last night, Dave. Like, I didn't see anything happen with Scott Laughton. This news caught me off guard this morning. Any more insight you can have would be great. Do you see anything? You see him hobbling? Like what happened here with Scott Laughton? Now he's week to week.
I saw nothing that would say, oh, it didn't look good for Scott Laughton. Nothing that would suggest me it was a week to week thing. And I know that the reporters were asking Craig Berube, it's like, is this like a bone thing? And like, no, like he wouldn't really. First off, why any reporters are going to try asking Craig Berube what's exactly wrong with the player? You're not getting anything from him unless it's like a clear and obvious. You saw what happened. You know exactly what happened. You're not going to get Craig Berube to reveal anything. So
no,
we'll listen to the reporters there because I wouldn't even bother asking.
Well, I remember last year when Cal Yarncroc, was hurt to start camp or missed the first couple days of camp, and like, yeah, he'll probably be out for a couple days, and we'll see. The guy missed like 3/4 of the season. And like started out with a couple days. The guy missed like 60 games. So, the Leafs are always very coy. They downplay the injuries and they always say, we're not too sure what's going on. Remember with Stolarz, there's that little pebble in the knee, and they didn't really say what was up. There's I don't know what's going on, man. I apologize to Scott Laughton for putting that out in the universe, and he clearly got injured somehow. It's a lower body injury, is the official designation. No one's quite sure how it happened, what happened, or the extent of the injury, how long it's going to be. But week to week, I mean, that usually means it's going to last at least a couple of weeks, or else it would have been a day-to-day designation. So certainly means that Scott Laughton will not be with the Maple Leafs when they break camp and when they get going in Montreal next Wednesday to start the season. And man, that sucks because Scott Laughton like was the story of camp, right? Like he was. We were having the conversation that he was pretty well, probably your camp MVP. And in the final tune-up game with the big boys, like they were done after last night. That was the final game they were going to play, and then they're going to call up, some Marlies players to get going in tomorrow's game against Detroit. And he gets injured and is now out for probably multiple weeks. Just terrible news for the Maple Leafs and Lawton.
Yeah. The funny thing is like it just kind of randomly popped up, and I'm like, my mind didn't go to you right away. Funny enough, it wasn't until somebody texted me saying, "You messaged Mike yet?" I was trying to figure out what they meant by that, and then I'm like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, I thought about it right away. Trust me, right away. I'm like, I did this.
Yeah.
I did
But,
this.
like,
I broke Scott Laughton, and I'm sorry. I apologize, Leafs Nation. I'm sorry. I don't know why I had to go ahead and say that, put it in the universe, but
the part about this too, with the whole, I know we're trying to figure out what exactly it is. Like, you hear some of the talk, like what's being said, and it doesn't sound like a minor little thing from what, like,
what's
you
being
really.
said? What's being said here?
So
Tell the
this is
people.
what Berube said. It's a tough loss for him and us. Obviously, it's a bad break. He's had a real good camp. Yeah, it's tough for everybody. Then that was like, okay, this doesn't sound great. And then John Tavares goes, you really feel for him. He had a great summer and was really excited settling in here and the work he put in. He was having a great camp for us and training really well going into the season. So it's like, oh man. Like, and it, like, again, we don't know what extent this is, if he's gonna have, like, if it's just something that he's gonna have to, work with the medical staff on.
Yeah.
No worried about any potential like operation set. Like, this is like the part that it's so tough, but it doesn't sound like we should be expecting to see Scott Laughton anytime soon.
No, like those comments aren't great, especially the ones from Tavares here, where like you could feel kind of the sympathy he has for Scott Laughton, probably knowing a little bit more than us, knowing exactly the extent of the injury, and because of that information, he knows in his head what a timeline could look like and how much time he might miss, and then once he gets back, he's behind the eight ball, and last year it was a bit of a tough go when he got here to Toronto, had to adapt to some new systems and new surroundings, and it took him a bit to get going. But things look great. He was the best player, the most consistent player. He was expected to fill a pretty big role for the Maple Leafs here as the fourth line center. Play a shutdown role. Add a little bit of offense from that fourth line, kill penalties. Could factor in on the second power play if need be. Like, there's a decent role here for Scott Laughton. And now they need to find someone else to fill that role. I am curious, Dave, like how will this impact things, like particularly on the fourth line now? Like what does it look like? Because guess what else happened today? David Kampf was put on waivers. So no Scott Laughton. David Kampf is on waivers. We'll have to wait till 2:00 tomorrow to see if he clears. There's a possibility he could get claimed. And all of a sudden, you're looking at that fourth line center role, and you're like, man, there used to be some depth here. Now who? Like, what the heck are they going to do if he gets claimed?
Yeah, I don't really understand. After the news, everyone was kind of asking that same question, like, what exactly is the plan here? Now, if he gets claimed, I'm not going to be too upset just because of that contract. That means like for a team to take on that contract, I think it'd be valuable to move that away.
Yeah,
but yeah, like fourth line center, you're looking for somebody like to obviously take the draws and stuff. Like Cal Yarncroc wasn't placed on waivers.
Mm-hmm.
And that has me wondering, is that a possibility for him to go into that role? Now, here's the thing. Like they put David Kampf on waivers. Chances of him actually getting claimed, I think, are quite small.
Yeah.
I think
I am
that's
curious though, but like why they even do that? Because again, like if
they
you
would
already
have
know,
known, like they would have already known before they did this move.
yeah, they knew Lawton was gonna like that announcement was coming out, that Lawton was gonna be there. Like they knew that. So rolling the dice and waving camp is just a curious decision, I guess. And to your point, if he gets claimed, it's maybe a bit of an addition by subtraction, just due to the fact that it's not a great contract and it's got another year left on it. If you get that off the books, you'll take that and you could probably fill someone in like a Yarn Croc, or maybe you even get to maybe Nicola Waugh moves down to the fourth line and Max Domi ends up on the third line playing 3C again, or maybe you shift
Lawrence.
potentially Steven Lorentz to the wing spot, so there's some things that they could do, obviously, if they don't have either Lawton or Camp available. But I guess it does, like, the question that I have now is like, does this hurt Cowan's standing with the team? Because like that line had generated some real good chemistry, Lorentz, Lawton, and Easton Cowan, and it was like, okay, Cowan's playing with some guys who are defensively responsible, but also with Scott Laughton in particular, someone who has a little bit of skill. So Cowan could complement that, and Lawton could complement Cowan very well because of that skill and chemistry that they were building. Camp does not. Like Camp, the offense dies on a stick. Steven Lorentz, good player, heart and soul guy. Offense typically dies on a stick. I think he had like 4 goals last year. Like not a whole lot of goals being scored off the stick of Stevie Lorentz. So I wonder now if you look at it and you're like, okay, well, if it's going to be Camp and Lorentz, maybe Cowan is better suited in the American Hockey League instead of saddled up on a fourth line that isn't going to generate a whole lot like they could have with Scott Laughton.
Well, I do think that with this news now, do you reconsider obviously a player like Cal Yarncroc or Nick Robertson, right? If you're going to need options, right, to throw on that fourth line. I think with Cowan, some people weren't entirely convinced about him making the team. And I'm like, well, he played in that last game. Like that usually would suggest that if he's not among the fifth liners like Pizzetta, Yarncroc, Camp, and Robertson would likely suggest that he's in a really good spot to break Camp. And like watching him, he didn't really look out of place watching him in that game last night, or a lot of other players who looked out of place. He was not one of them. Yeah. So to me, I still think that if he's gives you your best option, you're sticking with that, even with Lawton now. But again, Craig Berube might think otherwise now, just because there's some shifting that's probably going to have to do with Lawton now.
Yeah, it's very interesting now. Like I didn't realize how much of a glue piece Scott Laughton was until he was gone. And now it's like, man, things just don't look as proper. They don't look like it's slotted as nicely. Like Camp next to Cowan doesn't feel like that fourth line's going to generate the way that they want it to, the way that they expect it to, the way they need it to. They need a little bit more offense from the bottom six. And I don't know if any line with David Camp is going to generate a whole lot. Cowan is good, but I don't know if he's good enough quite yet to drive a line himself. I guess we'll see. We'll see. That is one of the question marks now, though. Like I would say, prior to this injury, I had Cowan penciled in as my fourth line right winger with those two guys. Now, if it's going to be Camp and Lorentz, I'm not as sold. I'm not as sold that's not the proper place for him. I think for his development, I think maybe he'd be better suited playing in a top 6 role with some more skilled players down in the American League than being saddled up with those two guys, where there's just not going to be a lot of offense to be had. And you don't want to shoot this guy's confidence if he doesn't go and get points and score and put up any type of production, because he's used to that. He's been doing that in junior, right? You don't want him to go in and go 10 games pointless and kind of drain the excitement and from the young kids. So that's a big question. It really is, honestly. And I don't know, maybe I'm overblowing things, but with Lawton out, I think it also puts it into perspective there that maybe it could impact Cowan's standing on this roster come opening night as well. All right, we'll come back. We'll chat about some more takeaways. You were in the building for the loss to the Detroit Red Wings. Stolarz was under siege. We'll chat about his evening, and it's Futures Day on FanDuel. So I've got my Friday five FanDuel futures for the Maple Leafs. That's all coming up next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NHL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives you so many ways to play. I've built parlays, player props, live plays, and you can even bet on your futures totals. I'll have a bunch of great futures bets that I like in just a few moments for you. But it just makes watching hockey even more exciting. Gives you a little bit of something to watch while you got a little better action riding on the game. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get yourself started. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with me here on the show. We are a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast with new episodes coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. Free and available. You can find the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you get a podcast and also on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, did you see the YouTube comment from a couple of days ago, Dave, about who my co-host resembles? Did you happen to see this? There's a comment. Someone commented on an episode a couple days ago and said, "Hey, neat. Mike got Mark Giordano to co-host with him."
Okay, first off, not the worst. Not the worst.
That's not a bad. That's not a bad.
Not bad.
No,
we're both Italian. We both, I guess, lack hair.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
But I do think, give me a little more credit because my facial hair hasn't grayed out like Mark Giordano's has.
Oh, not yet. Not yet. Give it a few years. Give it a couple of years. It's starting to happen. I'm starting to see grays pop up.
You say that. Guess what's going to happen? I'm going to see a gray hair tomorrow. We're going to be coming back on this pod. I'm going to be playing another clip of you manifesting.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've already started to pop. Like you haven't seen any pop out yet in your beard. I've started already. It's terrible. Just a couple here and there, but yeah, it's I don't like it. I don't like it. All right, let's get back into the hockey talk here. You were at the game last night, and your streak of watching overtime games, I guess, was snapped, came to an end. Game didn't go to OT. It was close.
Thought it was a
2-1 game. Yeah, it was a 2-1 game, and then Detroit ends up scoring an empty netter to make it 3-1. But it shouldn't have been a 2-1 game because Toronto was severely outplayed. The shots were 42-19 in that game, and the Maple Leafs had their A squad out there. The projected, starting lineup for them come next week against Montreal. I mean, how concerned, if at all, were you about what you saw on the ice last night against, a Detroit squad that simply should not be outperforming you like that? They're not as good. They're just not.
Well, first off, I got to give a shout out to a couple people that recognized me at the game. I didn't get the name of one person that was sitting in my section. We were section 111, row 25. So we would have been row
like 22. They thought you were Mark Giordano? Or
No. They said, all of a sudden here's, "Hey, Dave." I'm like, "What?" And I looked down and he's like, "Oh, I watched the podcast." I'm like, nice. Awesome. Then at the UP train, boy Nathan, it's like, "Dave, it's good to see you." And he's like, "What do you think of the game?" Well, what I thought the game was quite sloppy. Turnovers galore. There were I thought they got off to a great start. Power play, right? They had a lot of breakaway chances, right? Nyland had a nice breakaway chance. Knies had one. They were generating pretty good in the first period, and then I don't know. They just looked sleepy. 5-on-5. I understand they also taken a lot of dumb penalties.
Yeah.
That really also did them in too, because every time you thought they were maybe going to be able to try to get a little bit of momentum back, they go and take a penalty and they're in the box. They took 6 penalties.
Maybe they wanted to just practice their penalty kill. Maybe that was
did pretty good job with that.
Yeah, if that's the game plan, they executed it perfectly because they took a lot of stupid penalties and had to kill off some penalties, and the PK got a lot of work last night.
But this team
killed off all 6 though. Oh, yeah, give them credit for that. They did kill them all off. So
I think there was. I think Stolarz, I think it was on the penalty kill. He had an unbelievable save with the paddle. I was like, corner saw it. I'm like, oh, and then Tanev had a really nice. He stopped one clear cut chance from going in too. Like, bit of puck luck with that, but they just lacked intensity, right? Like, especially, I'm gonna put them on blast a little bit. The second line of JT, Nylander, and McMahon just didn't. Second period on, they just did not much for a second line. Like, they didn't really look dangerous at all.
I thought it was really telling. I heard a clip last night, Craig Berube, after the game, when he asked, what takeaways do you have? Anyone you liked last night? And he's pointing out a couple of players. He's like, I like what I saw from the fourth line again. And he's like, Bob McMahon, I thought that he competed, but then didn't mention anyone else on the line. Like, didn't mention anyone. He was like, I like what we saw in the first period from that first line. Second line, McMahon, I thought he competed all night, and didn't mention a lick of Nylander, a lick of Tavares. I thought that was pretty evident that he didn't like their game a whole lot last night. And to be frank, I don't think either of us did either. No. It's the problem with preseason games, though. Like, it's tough for those veterans to get up for those, to find that intensity in a game that's so meaningless and doesn't mean anything. And they want to get out of there unscathed, and unfortunately it didn't happen for Scott Laughton, who's now week to week and probably going to be out for a little bit here. At least, sure, they lost on the score sheet, but none of their big boys, I'm not even going to say it actually, because we don't need to put anything out there, but it was a no-hitter. They're out there trying to just complete a no-hitter and get away unscathed, I guess, was the attempt there. But certainly wasn't a great effort, but it's preseason. The sky's not falling. Saw some people being like, oh, same old Leafs, soft, yada, yada. Can't, they always play down to their opponents. Like, it's a preseason game. Like, this is so meaningless. Doesn't mean anything. But the one thing I will take, a couple positive takeaways, the one time Stolarz got nudged, little bump on Anthony Stolarz. The Leafs came to his defense, right? Yeah. Leafs came to his defense, and there was a little scrummage action. And the same thing happened last game when he played against Montreal. There's a little bump there, and they came to his defense. I think that's going to be something the Maple Leafs want to make sure that they're taking care of their guy. What happened with Sam Bennett in the postseason last year, I think that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And it sounds like they're going to protect their crease, protect the goaltender a little bit harder this year, so that, both goalies who do have a history with injury, they don't want people going in there, and they want to let people know early, you go into the crease, you go into the goalie's kitchen, you're going to pay for it. So you might as well not moving forward. That's something I noticed. And then, the power play, getting a quick goal there. Auston Matthews scoring again. That's what you want to see. Matthews, nice little shot. Knies, nice little shovel pass to get it to him. Quick release. Looks like that shot's in fine form, which is great to see moving forward for him.
It is. The power play, I thought, like the first power play, quick puck movement, created a little bit of chaos in front of the net. Matthews.
Riley actually shot the puck, and it kind of made it through, and off the rebound, shoved it over to Matthews, and boom, goal. Look what happens when we shoot from the point.
But then after that, there was a little bit too much passing. Like Tavares, I don't know what's with the idea of doing the cross crease pass from your own blue line when there's 2 penalty kills playing up high. Like, when you got 2 penalty kills playing up high, I was usually told you go you cycle the puck lower, because that means you got a mismatch, down in the zone there. So like there was just like I don't know, they were trying to be again, maybe at times too cute, passing it a little bit too much, trying to get the penalty kills moving, but like the mentality has to change a little bit on that. Guys got to start shooting. Like Nylander didn't want to shoot. I was like ready to yell, shoot the damn puck. It's like the guy in front of me did. But like there's just too much of like those. I think when we look at fans who are commenting and saying, same old Leafs, there are just some habits that they gotta get out of their game, which especially on the power play, it's like just shoot the puck. Yeah. Right? You got Matthew Knies, who is a beast, and is going to be so hard to move from front of that, because that's what happened on that goal, right? No one could corral him. I said, like, this guy is going to be a problem. You need to get the puck into those areas. You can't just be content with passing it on the outside.
Speaking of Matthew Knies, 2 of my 5 futures plays have to do with his offensive production totals. Couple bets that you can make on FanDuel right now. So coming up on the other side, we'll get to the whole 5-pack. That's next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can download the FanDuel app now. Visit FanDuel.com. Win $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. And it is a special day on FanDuel. It is NHL Futures Day, all day Friday. And I thought it'd be fun for me to cook up my 5 best bets for our Friday 5-pack. When it comes to the Maple Leafs and their futures. You ready, Dave?
Let's do it.
Auston Matthews, his goal total is set at 45.5 on FanDuel. 45.5. I'm hammering the over. I think he bounces back in a big way this season. I think as long as he's healthy, which is, obviously going to be the big key here, he's going to surpass 45. He's going to get back into the 50-goal club. He's just too good of a shooter, too offensively driven not to get there. And like you saw yesterday, you saw in the first game against Montreal that he played, his shot in midseason form. Doesn't seem like there's an injury or anything pinching him in the back or any nerve or anything that's precluding him from getting a shot off. And I think that he's going to have a big bounce back. So I like the over 45.5 goals for Auston Matthews this year.
There were opportunities that he could have scored on yesterday. Like he ripped one puck and it just sailed high, but like he's got the zip on the shot. And like people are worried about like whether or not, having Marner around, if Matthew's able to get his offensive chances without somebody to set him up. He's doing it on his own. He's like he's picking up takeaways. He's a guy, like the way they forecheck in the offensive zone, he's going to get those extra opportunities, and he's going to the net. He's not taking shots from bad places. Like as long as he's doing that, he should be able to score 50 goals, right? Like he didn't lose his ability to shoot, because he can't shoot the puck. It's just physically he had a hard time with it from the injury last year.
Right. So as long as he's healthy, I think he gets back to being a member of the 50-goal club. So that's the over-under. That's the total that they have set, 45.5. I think it's a little low. I think he goes over that number. Here's another fun little a fun market that they have on FanDuel as well. Not only can you bet on your Hart Trophy winner, the MVP, you can now bet on who will be a finalist as well. And how about Auston Matthews to finish as a finalist at plus 650? Plus 650 to be on the Hart ballot. That's it. Just got to be on the ballot. One of the top 3 options who shows up at the awards. I think that's pretty good value because if Auston Matthews gets back to being a 50-goal guy, if this team has, the success that they had last year without Mitch Marner, and if he's the one who really steps up and takes control and starts dominating, I think that the narrative is there for Auston Matthews to be considered one of the MVPs of the season. So he may not win it. Maybe someone else has an unbelievable year and stakes claim to it. Maybe McDavid goes bananas, McKinnon goes bananas, or something like that. But for Matthews to finish as a finalist at plus 650, I think that's very likely. Very likely that it could happen.
Oh, it can easily happen. And at those odds, like if it was in like the 200-300, okay, maybe not as much value, but 650, like he's still you also have to think about it. It's not just his play, but his name alone too will get that recognition. If he's having an Auston Matthews type of season, even if he doesn't win the Hart, we're just talking about him being a finalist. He's very well capable of doing it. And people will give him more credit if he's doing it, without Marner.
That's my point. Like this is the Hart Trophy is typically a narrative driven award. And the narrative all off season was this guy's going to have a drop off without Mitch Marner. If that drop off doesn't happen and he bounces back and he still has 50 goals, 100 points, still leads the team to a division title, perhaps, you bet your ass this guy's going to be in the conversation for MVP. Like that's just going to be the discussion and discourse. So I think that's pretty good value at plus 650 to get him as a Hart Trophy finalist. How about Matthew Knies? 60 plus points at minus 115. You could also get 30 plus goals at plus 115. Hit 29 a year ago. And that was spending half the year in the bottom six and not on top power play. Now he's on the number one power play to start, and he's playing alongside Auston Matthews. I think 60 points and 30 goals is what's expected of him at this point. To go over that number, to get plus money on that, I mean, it's a hammer bet for me, both of those two.
Well, not only that, he's going to just have the puck on his stick a lot more too. And I was just watching him in this game. He was very confident with the puck. He's driving to the net. He's going to get a lot of those opportunities. Like teams are going to be trying to find ways to slow him down. It is very hard to slow down a player like Matthew Knies, especially with his size, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that is going to give him a good opportunity. Like 30 goals, I'm fairly confident that should be pretty attainable for him.
That should be, definitely the goal, if not 35-40. He hit 29 a year ago in his second season in the NHL. He's got way more opportunity now, and I think 30 is the bare minimum of where he needs to get to this year to consider it a good season. If he doesn't hit 30, to me, that'd be considered a bit of a down year, a setback for him. So I think, 60 points, 30 goals, at plus money. I like those plays all day over on FanDuel. And the last one, little team total here. I like the Leafs to finish over 100. It's 100.5 points is what their team total is set at. 100.5. So 101 cashes the over. And I like that. I do like them to be right up there with Tampa. At this point, I expect for those two to be battling for the divisional championship. At this point, I think Florida will get off to a bit of a slower start. Still probably see them as a playoff team, but I'm not sure that they'll be able to compete with the Leafs and the Bolts if they get off to a hot start, given the injuries in Florida. But at plus 270, you can get them to win the division. But I think I probably prefer to take the team total over 100.5 points for the Maple Leafs this season.
We did the locked on previews for the Atlantic division, like the contenders. And I'm pretty sure the over under at that time was just under 100 points, or it may have been 100 points for the Leafs. And it's like, this team has found ways. They say, I don't know if the goaltending is going to be good enough for them to be over 100. We said it last year. You should be taking the over for 100 points.
They had 108. They had 108 points last year. They've had 100 points in every season since 17-18, every full season since 17-18. They've had 100 plus points.
Like that shouldn't be an issue with this team. I understand, yeah, they're gonna be. I just think, yeah, you look at the division, Florida's gonna struggle. You know, are they gonna? Is Detroit gonna be better? I don't know. They could be a bit better, but I don't know if it's gonna be that much of a difference. Montreal, like, are they gonna be challenging for points? I would suggest no. I think they've got a very young squad, but I think it's going to be tough for them at the start. I think if the Leafs get off to a good start, which I think they're capable of, look at the way, especially with the way Anthony Stolarz has played in preseason.
And it's a heavy home schedule the first month too, to get off to a good start too. You win at home early on the season, and you start out with 7 of your first 9 wins at home. In good shape. To get off to a good start like that. So those are my 5 favorite futures bets when it comes to the Maple Leafs. And again, it's Futures Day on FanDuel. So go check them out. Our sponsor here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Before we go, do want to wish a hearty good luck to the Toronto Blue Jays, buddy. The Jays get going tomorrow. Jays, Yankees, Game 1, ALDS. Need the vibes. We need Toronto to come through with a dub. It would be a great way to kick off the weekend. So Kevin Gausman, pitch your ass off. Need a big hit from Vladdy. Springer come through. I can't wait, man. It's gonna be fun. So good luck to the Blue Jays as well, and go check out the Locked On Blue Jays podcast if you want to follow along and get your daily dose of Jays action. Again, we got experts on every professional sports team, not just with the NHL, but the MLB, NBA, NFL, and even college sports as well. So make sure you're connected with the Locked On Network. That will do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. One more preseason game to go. It's tomorrow night. It's in Detroit. It's going to be the B squad. Lots of Marlies guys. But we'll come back Monday. We'll recap the game and set you up because we're only going to be a couple of days away from the start of the season. So enjoy your weekends, folks. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.